investigation. Thank you so much.
As amended to be agreed to, as many of that opinion say aye. Aye! Of the contrary, no, I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
What on earth just happened? Well, what you saw there is a government in full-blown retreat. It might not have looked like it, but make no mistake, this was a humiliating defeat, because not only do the government have to disclose all of the Mandelson files, but they don't get to decide which bits of it to hold back in the name of national security.
I was disgusted. I wasn't shocked because I think one knew enough about the man to know that there were so many skeletons in the cupboard. He shouldn't ever have been put in any of these positions after the first few, incidents in his professional life. That should have discounted him out. I mean, he clearly was a person who couldn't be properly vetted. And I think, look, if you've been the head of an organization which demands developed vetting for every single member of staff, where you have a responsibility, and for a period of time in MI6, I was actually the head of personnel, or, the director of personnel, you demand of your staff the highest standards of behavior, and you don't give them the benefit of the doubt when something goes wrong. And if their vetting certificates are withdrawn, they lose their jobs. It's as simple as that.
But can I reassure the House, Mr. Speaker? Let me reassure the House. The process for deciding what falls into those categories will not be a political process. It will be led by the Cabinet Secretary, supported by government legal teams.
I think in the UK, because you guys don't have free speech laws, because it's just different over there.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot of crazy shit. First of all, we should explain what we're talking about. There's more than 12,000 people have been arrested in the UK in the past year for social media posts. And if you read some of those social media posts, they're not even remotely terrifying. It's not like I'm going to grab a and go cut the head off of every immigrant I see. Hey, buddy, maybe we should lock this guy up and evaluate him. He sounds like a crazy person. No, the immigrants are coming into this fucking country and creating all this crime. Knock on the door. Yeah. You're going to jail.
I worry that Americans think we're mad. Sometimes I think... We
do.
Yeah, do you?
We do now, yeah. We think you've lost it.
Yeah.
We also think something happened where your leaders are intentionally trying to tank your country. It seems like they're trying to bring in as many migrants as possible, cater to them, not to the British people, and do it openly so that everyone knows what they're doing, and then create chaos on the streets because of it.
Yeah, I mean, people have a phrase for that, anarcho-tyranny, where you punish people who aren't breaking the law, but you protect those who are. And
right.
I think I don't know the extent that Americans know the stat you quoted, that came from the Times newspaper in London, which had a freedom of information request to the police, found out that it's 12,000 a year on average. So that's 30 a day, not just being investigated or looked into, but being arrested.
But over the last few years only, if you go back, it's only 1,000 or 500.
It was 3,000 last time we spoke, back in 2020. 3,
was it really a
year? It was.
Back then?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So we already had that problem. I mean,
I didn't know it was that many. That's crazy, even back then.
It was already really high. I mean, we had stuff like the old stories of there was that guy in 2010 who made a joke online about, he was at Doncaster Airport in the UK. He said, if this queue doesn't hurry up, I'm going to blow up the airport. Just a stupid, funny tweet. Mm-hmm. He went all the way to court. That was a full trial. So these laws, and I think what happens with this stuff is people don't realise how long this has been embedded in the UK. We have hate speech laws that are encoded in a number of different legislations. We have a thing called the Public Order Act. We have a thing called Malicious Communications Act. That's from 1988. We have the Communications Act from 2003. And all of these things criminalise, I tell you, I kid you not, the language in the statute books is if it's grossly offensive. That's the phrase. If you post something that is grossly offensive, you can go to court, you can be prosecuted. But, I find...
So subjective.
Well, that's it. What does that even mean? I find laws against free speech to be grossly offensive. Right. So should the British state be arrested? I don't know. And there's one, I think it's in the Malicious Communications Act, where it talks about needless anxiety. Causing needless anxiety can get you arrested. Recently Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the UK, said he was considering or not necessarily he was going to ban X, but it wasn't off the table. It's something like as though he's going to do that. But this is always the excuse. Like, we're protecting children.
Right.
And look, no one wants that sort of stuff, right? No one wants deepfakes of kids, obviously. But there's looking at the stats on that, there's far more child sexual exploitation on Snapchat, for instance. But they don't go after Snapchat because Snapchat isn't the forum where Keir Starmer is getting criticised every single day and brutally hauled over the coals by people checking his facts. One of the best things about X recently is the community notes. Checking journalists and politicians in real time with facts. They hate it. They hate that. So no wonder they're going after X.
Yeah, Biden got cooked by community notes multiple times.
Yeah.
To the point where the administration was taking down posts.
Yeah.
And to say he lied to me makes it look weak and naive and gullible. The Keir Starmer that I knew of, I didn't know him personally very well, but I knew of him when he was Director of Public Prosecutions. And if you'd asked me what he stood for, I would have said standing up for human rights, standing up for victims, standing up for women and girls, standing up for decency and honesty. That's what I would have said. And yet he seems to have drifted so far away from those values in appointing Peter Mandelson to be the UK's representative in the US. Now, Peter Mandelson was called the Prince of Darkness. It's not a secret that he was a bad person. You know, a lot of people have been saying, well, how can something be both astonishing but also completely predictable at the same time? And I don't think there's any point Keir Starmer being angry with Peter Mandelson. I think he's got to be reflective about himself. Why on earth did Peter Mandelson even get in the room to be considered for this ambassadorship when so much was known about his bad character? He should not have even been considering him for that post, let alone believing his denials. And I think that it is very, very serious for Keir Starmer because it goes to the values of the government. And people, I think, are entitled to have a government that they can believe in, that they can believe shares their values, that is honest and acting in the public interest. And this really challenges that. So that's why I think it is so serious for Keir Starmer. I don't think it's inevitable that it will bring him down, but it will bring him down unless he takes the action which is really necessary for him to take.
I think there's other serious consequences. So Palantir, this is the spy tech firm, $260 million last month, the biggest defence budget in UK history. That was lobbied by Global Counsel, which was Peter Mandelson's lobbying group, alongside Wes Streeting, the health secretary, close friend of Peter Mandelson. I've written to the health secretary today to say we have to break that contract. It also has crucial data on our healthcare system. So the idea that this defense company from the US has its fingerprints all over our healthcare system alongside Peter Mandelson is a whole range of questions that need answers urgently.
We warned you all, and I find it so amusing to see journalists and broadcasters who literally fawned over Peter Mandelson for 4 decades, now telling us that he's a traitor, that he's let down his country, that he's let down his party. If only they had known then what they know now and all of this guff. Surely nobody will buy it. Keir Starmer not only knew who and what Peter Mandelson was, so did every journalist and every broadcaster in this country. Keir Starmer depended on Peter Mandelson, as Gordon Brown did, as Tony Blair did, as Neil Kinnock did. That's how old this story is. I've been rereading this afternoon, Mr. Ben's diaries from the 1980s. 18 months into Peter Mandelson's increasingly tight hold on power in the British Labour Party. And Mr. Ben opines over and over what a danger to British politics, the British political class, was Peter Mandelson. But the journalists who were supposed to hold him to account, the broadcasters, instead of holding him to account, obeyed his orders to remove people from television programs, including Mr. Benn, one of the giants of British politics, removed from television programs after a telephone call from Peter Mandelson asking them to do so.